Go.
Welcome. I am Paul Staley. I'm a clinical psychologist here at Southwest, and Hannah Greeley, who's a doctoral intern. Say hi, Hannah. We're really glad you're joining us today. We're excited about this information we're going to present, and we're glad you're here and that you want to share, and we want to share with you about how we can be the most help to you and your family. So we want to help you know how to make the best of your therapy experience. And this is how our time together is going to go today. First, we want to help you recognize what is normal for your kids and why they might struggle. Second, especially if you haven't done therapy before, we want to let you know what therapy is like and what to expect while you are here at Southwest Behavioral Health Center or with one of our contract providers. We also want you to know how change is going to happen, because there's often a misconception that the therapist is just going to solve everything in just a few weeks. And we want you to know how you can support that process of change. Today, we'll not be doing a full parenting class, but we do hope to share some foundational principles of family functioning and parenting that will get you started on the right path to create healing and change for your children and family. And finally, as we wrap up today, we'll give you some time to reflect on what we have covered and provide some resources to help access the support that you may need.
So let's talk about our kids. For starters, children and adolescents want to do well, and we know they will do well if and when they can. Their challenging emotions and behaviors can be confusing and difficult for parents, teachers, or others to respond to. However, what we know about these behaviors and emotions is that they happen when our kids and teens are lacking skills to adjust to the situation in front of them. Take a moment to think back to a time when you were faced with a situation and you did not know how to or did not have the skills to solve the problem, but it was still expected of you, maybe at work or in a relationship. It's stressing, right? Maybe it's hard for them to be flexible with changes, tolerate frustration, regulate and identify their emotions, or problem solve in tough situations. It's even possible that your child may have been capable of doing some of these things 6 months ago, but because of stress and new obstacles, they are needing extra support right now. Whatever it is, it means that we, as the adults, are the ones who need to help them develop the skills they need to help them get through their hard problems, even though they might act like they do not want us around. Again, we're glad you're here now to find out how your child and family can build these skills together. We're sure some of you have been in therapy before, and for others, this might be your first time. Nonetheless, we would like to talk with all families about what the therapy process will look like in the coming months.
Thank you, Hannah. So these are basic things that we expect from you as the parent. First, consistent attendance. Please attend regularly and call to reschedule if you need to miss a session. Consistency is going to be a key to creating change, and your child will learn this if you model it. Next, be punctual. Be on time or slightly early. We all know that everyone's busy. Try to make this a priority for your appointment. You may need to fill out a questionnaire before the session, and it's often difficult for us to extend the session if you are late. Also, check in with your child's therapist. It is very helpful to check in so we can assess progress and to follow up on the tasks from the previous sessions. Check-ins are able to help us assess progress for both you and your child, because without check-ins, we may miss the opportunity to talk to you about important topics, such as what is working or what is not working. And lastly, we ask that you stay in the building. We understand that there's many going-ons in life. We strongly encourage being present to be available to your child, just as you would if you were at the doctor's office. This helps us to continue working with you as a parent and have the consistency with scheduling. And as mentioned, we understand that things happen, and if you do need to leave the building for a period of time, please make sure you check in with the therapist. Now, as far as therapy goes, we want you to know what to expect, as it might be a little different for each child, especially depending on their age. This may include talk, play, group, individual, and family therapies. It may also include therapy assignments or tasks to complete in between sessions. As far as how long therapy will last, it'll depend on your family's needs. If it takes a short time for growth and change to happen, therapy may not last as long. However, change takes time, so therapy will continue until your family has met its needs for growth and change. To help create this growth and change, we will set goals for therapy. You will set goals with your therapist based on you and your child's needs and recognizing what barriers might be getting in the way. We assess the progress of therapy with a questionnaire called the YOQ that is completed monthly by you as the parent or your child. This will help us recognize when your child's symptoms are decreasing or at a normal functioning level. Each session may address immediate crisis and behaviors while balancing the rest of the session with long-term goals. Because your child spends more time in your home, it is important that you practice and continue the work done in session in your home. Our goal is to help empower you as parents and to be able to fly solo with your child by using these skills at home.
With confidentiality, we try to follow a what happens here stays here approach during therapy sessions. Parents do have the right to know what is being said in therapy, but we want to encourage the child's autonomy as well. It is important for you to be aware that we are mandated reporters, just like teachers or other health professionals. As mandated reporters, if we become aware of or suspect any harm to self, harm to others, abuse to minors, or abuse to elderly, then we cannot maintain confidentiality and need to report the information we have to the appropriate agency. If you have any questions about these things, then please feel free to discuss this further with your child's therapist. Many of you may be wondering, how is change going to happen? Well, research shows that kids benefit the most from mental health therapy when their parents are involved, when parents and the family are involved. Your child feels more supportive, that the work is not just on them and that there is a team of people that will have their back. So some still may be wondering, how does this happen? In therapy, we have the child, the parent, and the therapist. Our kids have often learned unhelpful ways to express their needs, which often looks like misbehaviors. This downward spiral represents what happens when we as parents react to the behavior instead of addressing their underlying need. A child may or may not know how to communicate their needs, but that's going to be their biggest role in therapy. They are here to learn how to feel safe identifying and expressing their needs. With the parent and therapist's help, they will learn to find ways to get their needs met. The parent's biggest role is to be the detective, to learn their child's needs and identify the needs of their family. What frequently happens is as parents, we become a firefighter, always putting out fires, or in other words, we get so focused on their misbehaviors that we forget to look at what the child's underlying need is. This is exhausting and makes parenting harder. As therapists, our role is to make therapy a place where this is not so exhausting for you and to lend a helping hand. We'll see later in our presentation that change in therapy happens from the work you and your child do in addition to the work the therapist does. To stick with our metaphors, our role is to help you feel safe to be a detective, to use a magnifying glass on their needs, and we will take your fire equipment away from you. No more putting out fires. Woohoo!
Yay! Awesome. Like that.
Super cool.
So as we know, children grow, their needs change, and everything shifts. So things will always be changing. Doing nothing may allow problems to grow bigger. It increases the risk of further dysregulation for both the child and the family. The change we want will come as we move from being reactive to our children's behaviors to being proactive about meeting their needs. What our children do affects us, and what we do affects our children. This is very similar to how a mobile works, such as when you touch one side of the mobile, it affects all the other parts, so it keeps moving. Likewise, when a child does something, it also impacts the rest of the family. So rather than fight against reality of how our children affect us, it is more helpful if we can be proactive and accept the process. Unfortunately, as we know, our plans don't always go how we hope. Much like the image you see here on the slide, parenting is hard. Being a kid is hard too. They're going to need you to be actively engaged with them to take on their challenges. The most mature, wise, and strong person has the most power to affect change. As parents, you will be the most influential in that change. One of the difficulties of being a kid is that they typically hear 55,000. So hear that, 55,000 can'ts, don'ts, and no's each year, and only 5,000 cans, do's, and yeses. That's amazing.
It's a lot.
The overwhelming message that comes across is that they can't do this hard thing called life. Positive change begins to happen when we are able to flip that ratio to say more cans and yeses than can'ts and no's. A renowned family clinician, John Gottman, has identified that the standard for healthy relationships is a 5-to-1 positive to negative interaction. That is what we want to aim for. As we work towards this change, it is going to take some time. So be patient. Recognize the small changes and successes along the way. So as we mentioned before, the research shows that it's a combination of these areas that make therapy effective. If you notice from the image, family influence has a significant role in the therapeutic outcome. In fact, more than 50% of the factors that make therapy work are what you and your child bring to the table and what you do outside of therapy. I think that's a real important piece to recognize.
And is. Sometimes individuals or families are not yet ready to be proactive about change and need support first in wanting to change or having the willpower to make the change they want. As we go through these stages of change, we invite you to reflect on where you are at in these stages, as well as where your child might be. Change can be scary and difficult, so even though therapy is already beginning, it may be helpful to focus on gearing up to begin on the work of therapy. So the stages of change are not sure if therapy is desired, thinking therapy might help, getting ready to work in therapy, working on issues, and staying emotionally healthy.
Like those. And we can't emphasize enough how much we value you as parents. Your work is the most rewarding and challenging work in the world. We know that parenting is hard and we're all trying our best. We know that we're all imperfect and don't expect perfection from any of us. It is okay to be exactly where you are and who you are. You are your kiddo's greatest support. We often use this pyramid to help us understand where families are in the healing process. If you look at the red area, these are the foundations that children need from their caregivers at home for them to feel safe and begin to heal in the therapy process. Just as in your home, you have a foundation that keeps your home solid, that can withstand the storms and the rains that come. And as such, we want to make sure that you have a solid foundation in this therapy process. So to support our children, as parents, we manage our own feelings and remain calm in interactions. We also find ways to get our children and tune into what they might be feeling. Parents try to be predictable and consistent, so kids feel safe coming to us because they know how we're going to respond. And we establish family routines and rituals that have meaning and teach family values. The blue area is what children accomplish through the process. Can you switch to the blue, Hannah?
I did.
Okay.
Yep.
All right, just making sure.
It is blue. Woo.
Okay. That's why I wear glasses and I can't see sometimes. So yeah, so the blue area is what children accomplish through the therapy process, both through the discussions and activities they do here in therapy. We all want our kids to heal from their trauma and to have success at school and at home. Their success depends on having that strong foundation at home. If you're struggling with any one of those blocks, then we invite you to attend our parenting support group, take a class, and use the resources that will be provided at the end of our discussion. So as we talked earlier about the downward spiral that happens when we focus on putting out fires, now we'd like to talk more about what happens when we are a detective and in an upward spiral, which goes along with the foundations of the pyramid we had just talked about. When we are focusing on our children's unmet needs, we are looking below the behavior we are seeing. We're not punishing and sending the time out. Instead, we're silently wondering to ourselves what our kids might need from us that caused them to behave the way they did. Do they need food? Are they tired? Do they need some comfort because they're feeling sad or upset? How long has it been since we had some quality time together? We realize this often goes against how parenting is portrayed in the media. And if this is a new concept to you, then again, we urge you to come to join our parenting support group so you can learn and begin to practice the upward spiral with your children so parenting them becomes easier.
Yes, love it.
Like that word easier.
For sure. As we start to wrap up, we want to take a moment to reflect on some questions. We want to invite you to take a moment to think about at least one of the following questions. Does my child feel safe to come to me with their feelings and problems? Do I feel comfortable helping my child manage their feelings? Does my child feel confident they can solve things on their own? As you finish up today, we hope that you will set a small, simple intention about something that you heard today that you might try between now and your next therapy session.
Excellent. I really want to emphasize that point of helping your child feel confident. Because the more confidence they feel, the more they're going to feel like they can overcome obstacles and manage some of the difficulties that a lot of our children face.
They feel they can take on the world.
Right. We want them to feel empowered.
And we know that you are doing the best that you can do and are proud you have taken this first step by being here today. We encourage you to take one step at a time. This can be like taking sips of water to stay hydrated rather than drinking a lot at once. No feeling waterlogged. As parents, we all have our own fears. Therapy may bring up your own anxieties and worries. We hope you and your family learn some awesome skills, and when you do, you can look at your growth with pride and be free to let go of regret in the past.
Absolutely. So, as we mentioned, we have a list of resources. We'd like you to take full advantage of them. They are for you and for your children. And here are some that we consistently encourage families to utilize to help them as you participate in therapy. Your therapist is willing to also go through these resources with you and identify what specific resources would best meet your family's needs. So again, we appreciate your time in hearing this information. We want you and your family to be successful. And we feel strongly here at Southwest Behavioral Health Center that the most effective change will result from your involvement with your child in that therapy process. Thank you for your time. Hannah, any final comments?
Yeah, we're so glad you're taking this step, and we look forward to working with you in the future.
Thank you and have a nice day.
Nice one. Bye.
Bye.